this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. Postman Pat's just been, very late in the day, but I suppose parcel deliveries are a different thing to the normal postie. But we have a parcel, I know what's in it, if I can get in it of course. This is requisites. I have a plan. What he reads. Isle of Wight Observer. But that's a clue. That's where they come from, Isle of Wight. New pieces of cork bark. I think that's the... they're all different sizes and shapes. Thank you for your valued order. I hope that you are pleased with your cork. I'll let you know. It's not until you start to use this stuff. I mean, I've bought from this guy before. He's a cork bark seller on eBay, and also runs a website for the same thing. For those of you that are interested, I did a couple of checks as best I could, because the sheer number of pieces of cork he's got for sale is vast, to say the least. Anything from massive to tubes to branches to flats like this, or rounds for hidey holes for creepy crawlies, for those who keep those sort of things as pets. I prefer the cats, really, even though they sleep most of the blinking time. But on his website, the postage is free, but the cost of the items is greater than on eBay. And if you can find a piece and do a direct comparison, I think the cost is roughly the same whether you pay the postage on eBay or get it off the website with free postage. Seems to be the same. Some good pieces, some nice lichen or lichen or whatever you call it. I don't like to call this stuff lichen. I always feel like going out under the full moon and howling. So to call it lichen. It's, when I grew up, that's how it was pronounced. It's like the old clematis or clematis. You know, when I grew up it was clematis. Now people say clematis. The spelling hasn't changed. Anyway, we have some pieces that were selected. This piece was selected because it's long and narrow, and this will cut into many smaller pieces, and with a nice crease down the middle, some of those pieces can even be split in half, so that little piece at the top could become two. Yeah, nice. So I've got the choice of having some nice small pieces if I choose, whereas something like this has many options. It could be two big ones, it could be four, yeah, so it'll split or cut into many different shapes. Same with this one. This one could have a small piece taken off the top, followed by two, yeah, or by, yeah. So these will cut in different shapes. This one here has all the hallmarks of splitting down that crease there. I've told you how I split it, haven't I? I would cut that on the back about halfway through, and then bang it hard against a ridge, yeah, and it will break naturally. And then once it's broken naturally there, I could get hold of this piece and do the same there, and it would split down that crease, yeah. So it does split up quite nicely. So 4 nice pieces of bark. Oh look, dirty hands. It doesn't come clean, it often needs a wash, it's a bit dusty, but the guy has his own cork plantation in Portugal, so this is his own cork off his own trees, so nice sustainable source and all that sort of stuff, and I think the prices are quite reasonable. It is cork bark, so it's almost indestructible, lasts indefinitely because it virtually never rots, or if it does, it Probably going to take longer than I'll be around anyway. So I like cork bark. I've tried other things. I've tried some English oak, some of which I collected myself and some of which I got from this guy. He used to sell pieces of that, but it doesn't last anywhere near as long. The beauty of it is it's thin. So when you've got small plants like Tulumnias or something, it just looks nicer than a chunky thing. But this is quite thin for cork bark. That's not bad. That'll make some nice small mounts. This bit is quite thin too. So again, this will lend itself to some smaller mounts. That's a bit chunkier, a bit thicker, that one. But that would be probably cut into, I'd probably take that into 3. I'd take this piece off the top with the narrower top and then split that down the middle to get 2 pieces. But these are all undecided, and as I say, that's the long thin piece. Again, not too chunky, a bit grubby on the back. You often get grubby bits, so they often need a bit of a wash. Scrub with a toothbrush or a nail brush or something like that if you want to get these dirty bits off. I don't tend to bother too much. So that's some new cork bark. For those of you that were interested in what was in the box, that's the end of the video. For those of you who are totally bored with the subject of live broadcasts, shut down now, skip out. But I've played with resolutions, I've played with everything I can possibly change, done as much work as I can possibly do, and the last attempt at a live broadcast hung in there for about 6.5 minutes and then just froze. Yeah, so although I got it better, when I reviewed that video I was not happy with the quality. The quality of the physical video was not that good. It had become quite grainy, quite not so nice to look at, and effectively defeated the object of having a quality camera. You know, I just as well have used a cheap webcam. So I've eliminated everything I can do except for 2 things. One of them is my internet speed and its bandwidth. Am I overloading my internet connection? So it's just cutting out, can't cope. Control an X, quit, whatever you want to call it. And the only other factor is the laptop itself. And streaming at reasonable quality does take a lot of processing power. That laptop wasn't bought for its processing power, it was bought for its mobility, to allow me to go out and do talks and things. And the secondary function was to help with the live broadcast, because I can get it into the grow room, whereas the desktop's not quite so easy. I can't do anything about the internet connection. I'm not paying for a faster broadband. It costs enough to have an internet connection as it is. And to get a dramatic improvement, I'd have to go back to cable, which is what I once had. But the price kept going up, and when it got to 50 quid a month, I thought, no, I don't need that faster broadband. So I went back to a cheaper version, which I've been happy with until I got to the live broadcast. So, what do? Not changing the internet connection. So what I've done is I've installed all the software onto the desktop. Now the desktop lives in a permanent place up the other end of the room, and I can't get a cable long enough to get the camera in isolation to the grow room. I doubt if that cable would function because of the type of connection it is. It's an HDMI direct connection, and they can only go so far before they start degrading quite badly, and that would degrade, so there's no point. So I've had a look and I've thought, can I move the desktop? Because it's not going to happen often. And I had a look and I thought, well, I can detach all of the sound system from the desktop. I don't need that. I don't need to be able to hear anything when I'm recording a live broadcast. I only need to see. So disconnect all the sound system and leave it where it is. That way I can just plug it back in. There's several USB connections in there, like the printer. I can just unplug that. So all I would have to do is basically unplug the things I don't need, pick the desktop up and bring it down this end of the room, and plug it back in. The monitor has got a long enough cable to be able to sit in the grow room. That's the important bit. I need to see what I'm doing. Yeah, and the camera just does its thing on the tripod like it is now, and that would connect to the desktop directly. So I've installed the various bits of software that I need. I've configured them similar to on the laptop, but with a slightly better quality. It's to do with frame rates and all that sort of stuff. And it's ready to try. But I've got bored with the whole subject, and I'm sure you have as well. So it won't be something I'm going to try. Oh, now it's chucking it down with rain. It's not going to be something I'm going to try in the near future, but I will, when I'm feeling energetic, unplug all the bits I don't need from the desktop, bring it down this end of the room, plug it all back in, set the camera up, and try a live broadcast based on something like set the tripod up, set the camera running, and just do my watering. So there's movement, I'm bustling around, I can chat a bit and see what, say what I'm doing, what's going on, and just let it run and see if it'll hang in there until I'm ready to stop it, rather than some factor deciding to just freeze the whole thing up, and see if it's that. So that excludes the processing power. I mean, at the end of the day, my desktop is pretty powerful. I mean, that's a quad-core, modern processor running at 2.66, whereas the laptop isn't. It's probably running a single-core processor, and it's running at 250. And the difference between 2.5 and 2.66 doesn't sound much, but in processing speed, that's quite a lot. 2.66 is up in the good stuff. When I bought the desktop, it was one of the highest specs available at the time. Now that's been superseded nowadays, but it's still very high spec. The laptop isn't, so its processing power is limited. And with the investigations I've done, processing power as well as internet connection are the two main things if you want to stream live. You're chucking a hell of a lot of data down the line to try and stream live. There's lots of encoding going on and things going on and stuff being changed along the way. It's intensive processing power, and I don't think the laptop's up to it. So I'm trying to exclude the final two factors by changing the laptop to the desktop. And I'll give it a go one day down the line. But I've had enough with faffing around with that now. I've invented some new swear words, which are not for public appreciation, shall we say. And it's really got on my thrupneys to the extent that I just don't want to do it. But I'd like to get back there and be able to do it knowing it's going to be okay. So my solution will be to try it with the desktop. As I've said, I don't want the thing freezing up. Especially, I mean, the test I did earlier today was just, it was just a nothing test, basically. I was just ferreting about in the grow room, and it still froze up. And because I hadn't announced it, nobody sort of joined me, so there was no chat going on or anything. But the thought of lots of people, putting their time to one side to join me on a live broadcast, and it only lasts a couple of minutes and then just freezes, is embarrassing for me. I don't like messing people about. It annoys me more than anything. It upsets me to a degree, even though it's not really in my control. But that's not the point. It's people have put some time aside and then had it messed up, and it's not on. So if I'm going to do it, I want it to work. So that's the plan for the future. And that's me box. That's me new cork bark. I'm getting quite a collection of boxes lately. And obviously at any time that this cork bark gets used will be kitchen time, and we'll be out there ferreting about with fishing line and hooks and things. So that's to come. I have a plan that nearly all of my Tolumnias are going to get remounted, because they are some of the worst offenders. A couple of the Orengis as well are on pieces of bark that is breaking down. It's starting to rot quite badly. It's not going to be doing roots any good. So there's plans for this, not immediate plans, but soon plans. We'll get round to it as and when. So thanks for dropping by and listening to the waffle. Oh, and as far as the merchandise is concerned, I had a chat with Rachel, because she's been doing it a while, and she said it's not exactly a big earner, but if I'm going to do it, I only need to set it up once and walk away. And then the people who deal with it just deal with it. So orders and that are none of my business. It just all happens in the background. So all I've got to do is the design and setup, which is a one-off. Obviously you can add bits to it now and again, but it's a one-off setup. And Rachel did suggest that if I'm thinking about doing it, now would be a good time, in time for people to do Christmas presents, as a thought. So I'm still thinking about it. Rachel was lucky. She's got a nice Gardening at Duenza logo that was designed a long time ago and is her channel symbol. So she was ready to go, if you see what I mean. Whereas I haven't got a channel symbol. You know, my startup page isn't suitable to have splattered on a cushion or a mug. But I'm thinking about it. Still not definite, but maybe one day. You know, when I get some spare time. Does that ever happen? Not often. See you next time. Bye for now.